Welcome to the Lead Pedal Podcast with your host, Bruce Outridge, where he talks all things trucking. Now let's get rolling.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to another edition of the Lead Pedal Podcast. Today we're going to be talking with John DeGroot. Now, John is an advocate for Red Seal. He's the founder of the Red Seal certification program, and he's a safety manager at Aerostream Logistics, not to mention veteran driver, owner-operator with, he had a small fleet on in the steel industry. And we're going to be talking with him in a two-part series about his background and also about where Red Seal's going, why he started it. There's been a lot of talk in the trucking industry about Red Seal, and we're going to talk to him about it today, so make sure you join us for the episode. Before we get started with that, though, let me tell you a little bit about Bison Transport. As you know, they are looking for owner-operators and truck drivers on their fleet, and they're offering some big money to do it. If you're a cross-border truck driver in Canada, they're offering $750 for cross-border drivers until the end of March. If you're an owner-operator single, they're offering you $1,500 to sign on with them until the end of March. Now, that's just to attract you over there, but we all know that Bison has a number of great programs for you, and they also have $3,000 sign-on bonus that they're offering for teams, so you might want to check them out. But here's the benefits of being on with Bison. You get paid every time, on time, which is great. You know that they have the security to make sure you're paid. They have some great programs for owner-operators where you can get deals on things like parts, maintenance, and fuel, and you know what? They got support for you as well, which is very important in today's world. So why not make sure you're working for a place that can get you the miles you need to make sure that you're successful and have the income coming in, and then you could save money on all of these extra areas as well. So make sure you check that out. Go check them out at bisondriving.com and tell them that we sent you. All right, let's get into part one of our series with Mr. John DeGroot. John is used to be out here in the Southern Ontario area. He's now living in British Columbia and doing some great things for a company out there, but he has been a very big advocate on Red Seal. We've had discussions in person over the years. We've met each other in Calgary. We have both been trainers, and so there's lots of stuff that's going to come in this. We're going to start off with part one here, where we talk to John about his background and about what he got, why he became a safety manager, what's going on with training, and why he's so much an advocate for the Red Seal program. All right, enjoy, and let's get on with the show.
Be sure to share the podcast on your favorite social media channels.
All right, everybody on the line, I've got John DeGroot from, I'm a safety manager at Aerostream, Red Seal certificate. I don't even know what your title is anymore, John. How you doing?
I've lost track myself, Bruce.
I know, I bet you have. You should stop doing things. How are you? Tell us what your actual title is, because I'm sure I got it wrong.
So I'm the Senior Safety and Compliance Manager at Aerostream Logistics in Richmond, BC.
Okay. But that's not all you do. You used to be a trainer, and you were a driver at one time, and now you're doing a lot of work with Red Seal and all that, and we're going to get into all of that. But tell us kind of how you got into the industry. When did you start driving, and then how did you kind of get into safety management?
Well, how I got into driving, I think I was born into it, like many of us old timers. My dad drove, all my uncles drove, and it just was a natural path for me. I knew what I was going to do from the day I walked out of kindergarten until the time I was able to get a commercial driver's license. My dad started teaching me preteen, and I was probably successfully bobtailing a tractor around when I was 12 years old. And by the time I was 15, I could manipulate one in a yard with very little assistance. So at 18, natural path. I got my license and off I went.
We started driving at the same age. I started at 18 too. I didn't have all that extra training ahead of time, though. My parent was an accountant, so we didn't know we fell into that. But that's okay. We came in at the same time, so that's So now you are so you drove for You've done a lot of stuff. What was the primary stuff that you hauled back in the day? Were you I'm hazmat. Most of my work was hazmat at the end of the day, but.
I'm probably one of the most versatile guys in the industry. I started out hauling general freight. I was running food service for a little outfit in Brampton, Rock City, for many people that remember that name. Midland Transport, dry goods. I got into steel early 2000s, kind of dibble dabbled. I bought my first truck when I was 25, 24. That's going back in the day. Stuck with General Freight and I eventually got into steel and flatbed work just seemed to keep me going and was one of the better paying ventures out there. So I stuck with steel and ended up at Samuel in Burlington and had like four trucks on with them over the years. And
Okay.
yeah, it kept me busy. I dabbled in fuel. I did some work for RST. I dabbled in oversized. I did a season up on the ice roads. I've kept myself busy.
Wow. What was tell us a little bit about the ice roads because a lot of people are intrigued by that, myself included. I've never gotten into all that stuff. I know I met a guy who's on with Jade. I think his name was Andrew, and he's from Australia. And
Mhm.
that's his goal to do all of that specialty stuff. So he did the Australian trains and he went to the ice roads and he's doing all the he's with Jade now I think, but he was doing all this fancy stuff and this was his goal to kind of go around the world and
Yeah.
attack all of those big specialty items. What was it for you? Was that you just got a job up there or is that was your kind of the same thing? You wanted to just say I did
Just
it?
a restless soul, as my wife likes to say. It can't sit still for 5 minutes. No, I actually saw an ad. I think it was online, if I remember correctly, from a little broker in Edmonton for Continental Cartage. Asked, looking for ice road drivers. I threw my resume in. Next thing I know, I was on a plane out of Hamilton and flew into Edmonton, picked up a truck with some little training, and off the Yellowknife I went and spent 3 months up there running flatbed. And I think I did one or two dry van loads up. Way up north to the Arctic Circle.
Yeah. So all that stuff they show on the ice roads, ice road truckers or whatever it's called, is it how much of that is? I know that's not all true because I know people that have worked up in the ice roads and they say it's very strict and very regimented and all that kind of stuff. So how much of that is kind of because that's what the public sees? How much of that is true based on your experience?
Zero.
Zero.
Probably one of the safest entities I've ever been a part of. They treat the driver like a driver should be treated and should be
Okay.
treated today, quite frankly. They knew that we were the life source for getting all the supplies up to those mines. And of course, those roads need to stay open and they need to get every cent out of them that they put into it. So they treat you well. I enjoyed it. It was like driving 30 years ago. Everybody out to help one another out. It was I didn't want to come home just for the simple fact of the colleagues and the professionalism up there was just surpassed. And I was up there the year they filmed the first season of
Okay.
Ice Road Truckers, the same year that they were kicked off of that part of the ice.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, I've seen that series and I'm going, they've got guys driving with no heat. Who goes to a place where it's minus 40 and drives without checking your heater and that kind of stuff, right? I couldn't understand that thing.
Yeah.
But, it makes for fun TV, I guess. Did you ever see anybody, the actual ice though? Is that whole wave they talk about? Is that something you concerned of when you're driving up there or?
You're still concerned with the weight displacement when you're coming off of portages onto a smaller lake, especially if you're loaded heavy. There's precautions. You have to slow rate down. Radio communication is key. But they take safety very, very seriously. They're constantly up there with radar guns. Towards the end of the year when it got milder, it got a little rougher and kind of shook your fillings loose a little bit on some of the pathways. But I had a great time. I'd go back other than the fact that when I went up, my wife says, "Well, you can't swim." She says, "Honey, it ain't gonna matter. It's so cold, I'll be frozen before I even get a stroke in."
Yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, I don't think swimming is. Where are you going to swim to in the middle of wherever you are, right? Yeah. So so I understand that, and I found the same thing from the hazmat part. That's why I mean I'm sure you do too. I'm often telling young people, specialize. That's how you make it in this industry. To specialize
Hmm.
and get some. For me, it was hazmat. I don't know why. I just see and because I'm probably I hate rules, but I follow them all. So I'm one of those guys who was willing to check and do those things. And I found you had a little more respect and with the company I
Yes.
was working for anyway. And flatbed guys, everybody has it, and I think that's why some people get into those different markets. So now you're safety training. Tell us what that job's like. That's got to be hell in today's world. Why would,
It's busy. We run a fleet. We have a small terminal in Richmond. We have another small one in Victoria and another one in Seattle. So we're running about 50 units, right up from 1 ton, right up to tractor trailers. We do a lot of work for the cruise industry out in Vancouver and the Port of Seattle, and a lot of trade shows and exhibitions, and really good group of people. And we've been very busy. We've been concentrating on rebranding the fleet this week, and I'll share that with you at some point. We just got some new decals made up, so we're cleaning up all the trucks, rebranding them, making them look more modern. Just spent a whack of money on cleaning up the entire fleet, and they're really important about image, and that means a lot to me.
I was going to say, we're not talking about one of those chameleon carriers, are we, John? Where hey, we got new decals this week. Guess what's going on? I know it. I was just joking. I know you're
No, about 26 years in business with these guys.
good. So now I'm in Ontario. You're in BC.
Mhm.
We're seeing a lot of the same issues. I know we're talking about the same issues when it comes to safety and drivers and I mean, what's your fleet? Is it a makeup of different people out there? Like, what are you seeing from your end? Because you're probably hearing more about these issues in the mountains in BC than I am because we're in Ontario. What's your
Training
take?
is still very similar issues. As you know, I spent over 50 years in Ontario. I just moved out here this April and last April. And it's funny, you can go from one side of the coast of this country, and even though the problems might be differentiate a little bit in logistics, but the problems still remain the same. We're still seeing drivers out here that, quite frankly, should have never ever seen a driver's licensing office. We've got corruption in the licensing offices. We have driving schools that, quite frankly, the equipment shouldn't even be on the road. And we have chameleon carriers out here. We have Drivers Inc. out here. And I'm seeing the same things as I've seen at driving schools in Ontario. You have a guy that comes in, he does a road test for a position, he has a commercial license. And with Aerostream, unfortunately, their first impressions of a commercial driver was, well, if he has a license, he's qualified. Well, it's not what the license holds, it's what your experience holds. You know that as well as I do. And I get drivers out here that can't complete a complete pre-trip without looking at a book or looking at me for references. Same problems I had in Ontario. So education is key. We need to get our new drivers better prepared for this industry, or we're just going to keep seeing the carnage on the highways.
Does your company have, or the companies in your area, do they have things like the finishing programs and stuff that I don't hear from them anymore? We used to see quite a few of them. I've got some sponsors on our podcast that used to be leaders in that area. What's happening with the training? So you hire someone on. Do you guys have a training program? How long does that go for? Or do we not have them at all? I know. I haven't really.
We do have some companies in BC that do have some type of finishing programs. I have dealt with a few of the driving schools out here in BC, and quite fast, they're far beyond melt requirements. So they don't look at melt as a complete finishing program when the driver's ready to go. There's gentlemen out there like Ron Bassey and some places in Kelowna and even Valley here in Langley. They take their guys out and they're assured that they're getting the proper training before they even go and seek a job at a regular carrier. And the bigger carriers, Bison, XTL, they have a finishing program in place. We don't per se at Aerostream. Most of our guys were a 5-year minimum before we onboard anybody.
Yeah, that's where I was when I was at the chemical company. We didn't even look at your resume if you didn't have at least 5 years, and all the guys on our team were veteran drivers of at least 20 or more. So we never. But now I hear it's like 2 years because you're having, and they're a private fleet, right? They're having trouble just like everybody else getting drivers to come in. So what we just had an incident. I'm not sure. Was it BC? There's another hockey team. You and I were both in Calgary talking with Scott Thomas, at the end of last year. And now I hear there's been another incident. What are you hearing? Do you think this one's gonna make a difference? I thought the last one should have made a difference and it didn't.
I think they make small differences. Unfortunately, it's never a loud enough cry and it seems to die out. They brought certain training requirements in after Humboldt. Was it enough? Absolutely not. The problem we keep struggling is, you go from one standard in BC to another standard in Nova Scotia, and depending on what part of the continent you got your license on, sometimes dictates on what kind of a driver you're going to be. And that's not acceptable. It needs to be a national standard. These tragedies with the buses, there was so many in the States that I'm seeing with drivers that are working with chameleon carriers, not proper training, not experienced. And the irresponsibility isn't going to change unless we make that a national standard.
Wasn't that a great interview with John? Hey, did I tell you about Ontario Truck Driving School? If you want to get onto the Red Seal program, and it starts with great training. And today's world, there's a lot of training companies that are not doing things right. So where do you go? You go to a trusted source. And for us, that's Ontario Truck Driving School. They've been around since 1978. I actually used to train for them myself, so I know that you're going to get the proper training. I know their team. I know their instructors. You're going to get exactly what you need. And they have opportunities for you with heavy equipment, truck driving, bus, and more. So if you're looking for a place that's going to give you the right foundation for your career, then Ontario Truck Driving School is where you need to go. All right, so hey, I hope you enjoyed that interview we had with John. We learned a lot about his background. Join us for episode 2, which is going to be more about Red Seal certification, why it started, how he thinks it's going to work. There's been so many talks and discussions about this in the industry with a number of different groups, which you're going to hear about over the month, because that's kind of our focus this month on the podcast is Red Seal. So join us for the next one with John. And while you're getting ready for the next one and subscribing to our podcast platforms, why not go check out Driver Check? They got their Fitness for Duty Summit happening in October this year. It's a virtual event. You don't even have to get out of your pajamas, but you do want to make sure you're there, because they talk about drug and alcohol testing, cannabis in the workplace, and being safe and making sure your employees are safe. And if that doesn't matter to you in 2026, may I suggest you go and find something else to do. So go check out Driver Check, drivercheck.ca. If you're in anything to do with HR, managing workers, anything like that, then you need to know about this. And you go to drivercheck.ca. They got resources you can check out right there, and you can also sign up for their Fitness for Duty Summit. I've been part of that event for a number of years, and I can tell you it's quality information with an entertaining feel, which you don't get in many drug and alcohol testing programs. So check it out at drivercheck.ca. All right, my friends, hey, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our next episode with Mr. John DeGroot, because we will be back to talk Red Seal. All right, my friends, we will talk to you later.
This has been another episode of the Lead Pedal Podcast. For more information or to subscribe to the podcast, visit theleadpedalpodcast.com and be sure to follow the podcast on Facebook and Twitter.